Hi there, this is Kevin from maximizingecommerce.com, and I help people start and grow e-commerce businesses. And in this particular video, we're going to talk about how to find a product to sell on Alibaba. So let's just start off here. So if I'm on Alibaba.com and I want to find a product to sell, so I'm looking for something either on my own website or on Amazon or eBay or whatever the case is. So what I would do is if, let's say, I want to go to China to find one, rather than physically going to China and going to a trade show, I can go on Alibaba.com, which essentially acts like an Amazon or an eBay, basically an online marketplace. But instead of people selling individual products, it's things you can buy in bulk. So you're either going to be dealing with factories or dealing with sourcing agents. A couple different places you're going to find products. So let's just say hypothetically, I was looking to find a French press coffee maker. So if I typed in like French press, I can click on French press and one of the suggested searches. Now, if you see here, it came back with 9,716 products. Well, I want to narrow it down more. Well, also, as I'm looking at this, you're going to find all kinds of different products. You're going to see ones that look pretty nice, ones that look like they might be a little low end, some that the design doesn't look like anything anyone in America or in Western culture might buy, but maybe it's something that would sell in China, but it wouldn't necessarily sell in the States. But either way, you want to find something that you think might look nice. Now, there's a few things I would do when you're looking at this just to make sure you got the right suppliers. So one of the things I like to do is to at least check off trade assurance and gold supplier. And I'll show you a little bit about what that means. So now only ones that have like this little gold coin and it's got a year and then trade assurance are going to show up. And what this little gold coin here means is they're a gold supplier. So what is a gold supplier? Well, a gold supplier basically just means they're in the club. They paid for the ability to have that on their profile. So all their products will show really the length of time that they've been a gold supplier. So in this example here, they're talking about a company that's a 5-year gold supplier. Does that mean they're reputable? And that they're good to deal with? I mean, it's arguable, but at least it's a hoop somebody jumped through. So if they've been a 5-year gold supplier, well, they've been on there at least 5 years, and they weren't not sending products out, and to the point that they were getting kicked off Alibaba. So I would say that's definitely something to look for. Are they a gold supplier? So basically, are they in the club? And where it says there over 85% of buyers prefer to trade with gold suppliers, that's 100% true. I wouldn't even be surprised if saying 85% is pretty low. So I would always look for gold suppliers. Now, what is trade assurance? So trade assurance is basically a program where when you pay Alibaba directly, or basically it's almost like an escrow. So money goes into Alibaba, and then it goes to the supplier. It almost kind of acts like PayPal. I know suppliers don't generally like to use PayPal, but it's a system where you can either use TT, which would be like a bank transfer. You can use credit card or e-checking. I prefer on here using e-checking because it actually is much smaller fees. Visa, I remember one time using Visa on here and I thought it was going to be a good deal, but not only did Alibaba charge me a transaction fee, so did my bank, because it was the bank I think was actually out of London that the charge was coming through. So it was being charged as an international transaction. So I was paying more than I thought I was going to pay. So I prefer e-checking, but I love trade assurance. Trade assurance is also the nice part about trade assurance, other than it's a way of paying for goods at lower cost than you would if you went directly to your bank or used PayPal or used some other means of doing so. It also basically allows you to more have or more rest assured, I guess I was trying to say there, that the supplier has gone through a little bit more of a vetting process, kind of like gold membership. But with trade assurance, if you go through all the steps for trade assurance, which we can do in another video, but just very basically, it means that the supplier must deliver the goods, and if you were to do like, or basically before it ships and you had an inspection and they still didn't produce the goods to you, then you would be able to get your money back. So it's one way of just making sure you don't get ripped off. But I find it's also a trust factor, and legitimate suppliers are going to sign up for things like gold level, as well as trade assurance. Even if you don't do the transaction through trade assurance, I found there's some suppliers, they don't want to do trade assurance, but they're on there for trade assurance. So they might actually, in their negotiations or whatever, I think they get charged some fees. So sometimes in the negotiations with you, the buyer, they may want to get out of it. I generally don't like not using trade assurance, especially for the first time, but I've done it before, like still done bank transfers and everything's fine. But at least more than anything, if it says they accept trade assurance, you can at least rest assured that they're a legitimate supplier. Now, also, back to when we're looking at this, now we see here these like years next to gold supplier. So that's what I was saying before, like an example is a 5-year supplier. So this particular company here, which they could be perfectly legitimate, it says 1 year. So that would mean this is actually their first year. So that doesn't mean they're even a full year on Alibaba. But they've done here 11 transactions. They've got a good response rate. I take the response rate with a grain of salt, and I'll show you here in a moment how to message the supplier. But a lot of times in my message, I'll say, if you're interested in this order, I just give a little brief description, and then I'll say, please email me at, and I tell them my email address. And if they email me directly, it probably shows that they didn't respond. Maybe they have a way of marking it as responded separately. I'm not 100% sure. But either way, I wouldn't worry too much about the response rate. You're going to find out very quickly if they're responsive, if they're responding to you directly, whether that be directly in email or through Alibaba. But I recommend, if you can, try to find ones that have been doing it at least a couple of years. But I know that I've had suppliers that I've worked with that were 1 year gold suppliers on Alibaba, and then looking them up on global sources, they had like 7-8 years. So who knows, maybe they just recently joined Alibaba, but the company's been around a long time. So there's other ways of researching them. You can look up their company registration on wherever their province is in China. There's different places you can go to find that information. But either way, again, my recommendation is try to get longer years. Like this one here, 11-year supplier. They've got, decent response rate. This transaction level, I wouldn't worry too much about that. This has to do with like dollar amounts that they've done through Alibaba. And so sometimes these transactions and the dollar amount only counts, I believe, if they go through trade assurance. So if you pay directly to the supplier as a bank transfer, I don't believe it's going to show up there. I'm not 100% sure, but looking at this as I scroll down here, when you're looking at these, look more. Does it look like the supplier has good quality? Does it look like they have the ability to work with your order? So if you want to do 400 units or 600 units or something along those lines to start with, you might want to definitely reach out to a supplier that does a smaller MOQ, minimum order quantity. But keep in mind, there's such a wide range here in their price. I always take all these prices with complete grains of salt. I like to more look at it just to see kind of what is the general running rate for a particular product. This, a lot of it's also going to depend on quality levels. So it's hard to say. But if, like, let's say I wanted to look at this one here, and it says 1,000 pieces. If I was going to do 400 pieces, I would not stop myself from reaching out to them at 1,000 pieces. They might say, absolutely not. We will only work with 1,000 pieces minimum. But they might say, sure, we can do 500 pieces on a first order. And you know what? Maybe they'll even do 500 pieces on other orders after that. So you never know. But it's definitely worth asking. Now, also keep in mind here, too, when you're looking at this price, this is the price of the product itself. Assume there is no shipping involved in this. So a couple things to think about. So like this particular product right here, French press, it's got that big open space in the middle. When you're doing something along those lines, keep in mind that means volumetrically, so of the length times width times height, so to speak, it takes up a decent amount for its weight. So whenever you do air shipping, most of the time you're going to have a price that's going to be based on volumetric weight. And that might seem kind of strange. Weight and volume are two different things. But basically for a certain, let's say square foot or cubic foot or cubic meter, it would be a certain weight minimum. So if you had something that was 30 pounds, and for whatever that size was, the minimum volumetric weight was 40 pounds, you would pay for 40 pounds versus 30 pounds. And that's on air shipping. Generally speaking, it's going to be more just based on how much volume if you're doing sea shipping. But a product like this, it's hard to say what the shipping would be, but just as a general rule, I like to take, especially if I'm doing air shipping, whatever the price is and double it. And that's about what air shipping might be. This one, because it's got so much air in the middle, it might actually be more than that. But if this was a product I was looking to do, I would go ahead and reach out to them. So, and this is not a product I'm looking to do, but if it was, I would go over here to contact supplier, and I would contact them, and I would put in here, it'll just introduce myself, just a quick, hi, this is Kevin from XYZ company. We're looking to increase our line of products, and we're looking to add a French press coffee machine or coffee maker similar to the one in the picture. Can you tell me what options do you have for French press coffee makers as well as for packaging? And they're going to have different options for packaging, generally speaking, and they're also probably going to have different options as far as design. So you'd be amazed. A lot of times, even though it might look like, oh, that's what they have, they might have a whole bunch of other French press coffee makers. They may have a whole bunch of other things that are made out of steel or glass, or something along those lines. So you can always ask. Don't be afraid to ask if they have a catalog. A lot of times they're just going to direct you back to their own page, which I'll show you here in a moment. So what I would do is go ahead and email them that information and say, can you also quote me Air Express shipping to Dallas, Texas 75243, or wherever it is that you live. You want to give them a zip code so that way, and they'll usually respond pretty quickly. Now, if you message them, don't sit there and think like, oh my God, it's been 10 minutes and no one's gotten back to me. Generally speaking, I've found if I do it in the evening, I email suppliers, I wake up the next morning and almost all of them have written me back. They're hungry to work with companies, even if it is smaller quantities. I mean, 500 is a lot of a product for, an individual person to buy it, especially if you're first starting out. But for a lot of these factories, I mean, that's a small order. But small orders add up pretty quickly, and there's a very big market for smaller companies that would order smaller quantities like 500 or 1,000. So don't be afraid to ask. But if I wanted to find out more information on the product before I contacted them, I could always click on the product itself, and it takes me to the listing page. There's got more pictures. Sometimes you'll find the pictures look a little different. Like you can see there's different styles. So they have different styles, and they might send you the different types. Oh, they've got here different sizes. You can see that. And sometimes they'll tell you a little bit more about their company. So I scroll down. They've got all kinds of different pictures here. They'll look completely different. And usually there's something where they kind of brag about how they make the product itself. Scrolling down. This is one way. You could also message them here. Same as the other page I was on. This shows other ones you might like, which might be from some other suppliers. If you do look at the you may like ones here, it doesn't necessarily vet out, like if you were looking before for gold suppliers and trade assurance. So just pay attention to if that's something that you're concerned about. You will get instant messages from the suppliers, as you can see here, when you're on their page. And if you wanted to see the supplier themselves, you could always click on the supplier's link. And if you saw other products you liked, you could always ask about it. So, looking at this, it looks like they do bowls, they do coffee pots, so they do all kinds of stuff. So you might have a few different products you might want to ask for samples of. Like if you thought you were going to do plates or whatever, be very careful about anything that looks like an obvious trademark infringement. So if there's a logo of a company that you don't have the ability to use, assume you don't unless you have it in writing that you can use a particular company's, like Starbucks here. Like this might just be they actually might produce them for Starbucks, and just use this as an example. But never buy anything that has someone else's logo on it. Just word to the wise. In China, the rules on intellectual property are different than in like the United States, so or most Western countries. So be very careful about anything like you can see here. This one here that's got Disney on it. Be very careful of anything that's branded. Now, sometimes they'll just show you possibilities of what they could do, but you can see here this particular company. This is actually a very wide range of products. Usually, it's a little more narrow focused. Oh, this is kind of cool here. T-set there, but you can see all the stuff that this particular company has, and I just randomly picked it. So you can see they've got a lot of stuff here, and they've got it here by category. So all kinds of fun stuff you can do, looking out for products. So sometimes if you're doing research, this is also another way to see before you even reach out to companies. If you're not sure what product you want to sell, you could always start on a product you think you might want to sell, and then start clicking on some of the companies that sell it and see what else that company sells. So you start off with the original product like French press coffee maker, and you realize, oh wait, I want to start looking into porcelain plates, whatever the case is, because you happen to find the supplier that had it, and you can look up the data on that. So and then you can always just contact the supplier, whatever the case is. I never go with start order. I always go to contact supplier. It's not like it proves anything to them. So hopefully you found this video useful and helpful. If you did, I'd love it if you could click the little thumbs up icon to say like the video, and also subscribe to our channel so we can make sure to let you know when we got more videos out that can help you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment down below. We do our best to at least read all the comments and try to respond to as many as possible. So also, if you have a second, go to maximizingecommerce.com and you can sign up for our mailing list, and we'll send you some exclusive tips and resources to help you as you maximize your e-commerce journey. So thanks again for watching, and have a great day.